glad that you guys are here with me today. I do want to take a moment just to say thank you to you for being part of the Alma Pura Pure Soul community. It means a lot to me to share my time and my spirit with you. And I know that I tell you that every month, but I really am grateful for your presence in this community. I'm so excited always to do the Ask Nikki events every month, our hour Zoom. I feel like we just have developed such great connections with one another and we've learned so much from one another. And I love everybody's input. And it's just something that I really look forward to every month. And I can't wait till this month's Ask Nikki Zoom, which is going to be on October 19th, Thursday at 6 p.m. So I hope to see you there and I really hope that you can join. Our discount for this month is going to be 20% off any individual service that you schedule with me during the month of October. So I encourage you to do that and take advantage of the discount. Don't forget that we have the Empathy and Me workshop. And for Pure Soul members, you get 10% off if you choose to take that. And if you do choose to take that, then you just let me know and I will send you the coupon code to be able to do that. This month's spiritual focus topic is titled Masks. And I thought it would be, I was trying to figure out like, what are we going to talk about or what should I talk about during the spiritual focus topic for the month of October. And I just, of course, because it's October, Halloween popped into my head. And then I kept getting these memories of the kids when they were little and all the costumes that they would wear. And that's what kind of led me to the idea of speaking to you guys today about masks and the masks that we wear in our everyday lives. Now, if you think about it, we all play a lot of roles. And when I think about wearing a mask, I think about the role that you're playing at the moment. Because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, sometimes our humanity calls for different roles. So if I think of the roles that I participate in or the masks that I wear in my humanity, I could say I'm a mom, I'm a Marine, I'm a spiritualist, I'm a woman, I'm a friend, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, a sister, a niece, a computer programmer, a businesswoman, etc. So if you take a moment and just list out all of the roles that you are, what roles do you play every day in your life? When you think about the idea of a role that you play or a mask that you have to wear in your humanity, sometimes at work, sometimes at home, each role demands something specific. Each role requires that you participate at a level that is connected to the role that you are playing. So if your role is businesswoman today, then you should act according to society's idea of what a businesswoman is. And I feel like that's something that we all try to do is to like modify ourselves in a way that we fit into different areas of our life and that we are effective sharing who we are in those areas. And sometimes the role or the mask is difficult to live up to. Frustrations can happen. That's absolutely normal. But how is it possible to fulfill all of the roles that everybody demands from us or that specific experience demands from us? There can be a lot of cross communication there too. So how good are you at fulfilling those roles? Like, for example, think about back when we were kids and, um, you know, we're horsing around or we're playing with our siblings or we're arguing with our siblings or we're making too much noise around the house. And what does mom do? Mom is like, oh my God. Well, at least my mom did. She'd be like, you guys, shut up. Would you guys keep your mouths quiet? Stop fighting, stop arguing, stop screaming, stop jumping on the couch. And so mom gets into this role where she is just kind of yelling at us to like relax and calm down and stop screaming. And then the phone rings and it's the neighbor across the street. And so when my mom answers the phone, she switches because now she has to put on a different mask. She has to participate in a different role. And so when the neighbor calls, she's like, "Hey, how are you? Oh, it's so nice to talk to you today." And then she starts the conversation with the neighbor on the phone, but her intonation is different. It's like two different people are participating right now. Like, first, my mom was like screaming at us to shut up and be quiet. And then the phone rings, and immediately she completely shifts and she's seems like a different person. And I remember that, my dad was a deacon in the church. And so he would be like yelling and screaming at us and telling us that we were rotten and we were going to get grounded. And then the same exact day, like 15 minutes later, he would go to the church and preach and give a homily or counsel people on spiritual development. And it used to blow my mind because I'd be like, oh my God, if those people even really knew how he was at home, they might not want to listen to him about all of his guidance and everything that he says he does in the church when he would put on the mask of deacon. And I know that we have all been caught in that miscommunication of roles or that clashing of roles. And I am guilty of that. We're all guilty of that at some point. I do remember one specific experience when I was a little younger that actually called my attention to what I was representing. So it was earlier on, I was probably about 25 or 26, and Brittany was about 5. I think Brittany was about 5 years old. And so I, at that time, started to do gallery sessions with people. And I went to this woman's house, and she had her whole family there. And I did a gallery with them. And if any of you have ever participated in a gallery with me, there's a lot of talk about love and connection and heart to heart connections and how to connect with people in heaven and how prayer is so important. And I pray with the group prior to doing a gallery. So if you don't know me and you don't know who I am, and then I go to your house and I have this experience with you, and it means something to you, and your friends and family from heaven come, you're going to know me as Nikki the spiritualist, Nikki that wears that mask or plays that role in this lifetime of being a spiritualist. So your opinion and your perspective of me is going to be what you saw on that day. And that's exactly what happened. I did a good job that day. I prayed with the group. I was very moved by the connections that they had with their friends and relatives in heaven. When I left, the lady that had hired me to come to her house, she gave me a hug. She told me how special I was, and I told her how special she was, and we just shared this beautiful moment where we were referencing the experience at the gallery and what her husband had to say when he visited from heaven. And it was really a beautiful, beautiful experience. And this was on a Saturday that I was doing this with this family. So the next day, me and my husband and my daughter, we went shopping, and I think we were at like TJ Maxx or something like that. I know, or Kohl's. No, it was actually like, I think it was Marshall's. I know that that's a detail that doesn't even really matter, but we were at Marshall's and we were looking through the clothes rack, and I asked Brittany if she wanted to go to where her size was, and we would pick out some clothes for her because it was pretty good prices and she needed stuff to start school with. So I said we would do that and we would go shopping. And we did. And I was showing Brittany some items that I thought were really cute. And she was like weaving in and out of the clothes rack, and she was making noise and she was horsing around, and she was very uninterested that I wanted to do some school clothes shopping. And I got frustrated with her. And I told her a couple times, like, Brittany, settle down. Britt, settle down. Hey, Britt, settle down. And then I just got angry. And I was showing her a pair of pants, and I was like, Brittany, and she literally would not even pay attention to me. And then I was like, Brittany, Jesus, will you fucking stop? Like that. And I even used the F bomb. And I felt something when I did that, because you know how you can tell, like, when somebody's staring at you and looking at you? Well, I felt this glare across the clothes rack right at me. And guess who it was? The lady that I had a gallery session with the day before, and she pretended like she didn't see me. And I proceeded to pretend like I did not see her. I was mortified. I was very embarrassed. I don't know how long she was standing there. I don't know if she saw the interaction between Brittany and I earlier, that I was more patient with Brittany. I hadn't been pushed to that brink of like, you better knock it off right now, or I'm going to put you into next Tuesday. You know, I don't know what she saw. I don't know if she saw the crescendo, but I know the look on her face when she saw me pushed up against that, anger point with Brittany when we were trying to do the school clothes shopping. And I never stopped thinking about it. It was this moment that I was embarrassed. And initially, I thought I was embarrassed because she caught me. She saw me in a different mask. She saw me as somebody else. Her opinion of me must have changed at that moment from what she saw the day before. And I felt disappointed in myself. I felt disappointed in myself because I should have like monitored my anger a little better. I should have done better with Brittany. I should have been more patient with her, or I should have paid a little bit more attention to her instead of like telling her, stop it, stop it, stop it. But I didn't try to engage. I just thought she should obey me. And so that day, I swear to God, you guys, if you've ever been caught between two masks and people that have expectations of you from each mask develop different opinions of who you are from one mask to the next mask, that's difficult on the self. And it was difficult on myself that day. And I remember thinking, I'm not embarrassed because the woman saw me or heard me. I was embarrassed with myself. I was embarrassed that I was two different people at that moment. And there wasn't a consistency between those two roles or those two masks. And I felt like I really needed to sit down with myself and decide all these roles or all these masks that I wear. At the time, I was still a United States Marine, but I was in reserves. I was also working as a computer programmer. I was also doing a second job as a waitress, which was a whole other mask that I wore that was extremely different than the mask at home, the mask when I was doing readings, the mask when I was a businesswoman, the mask when I was a wife or a mom or a daughter. And I started to notice that each of these masks held a slightly different personality. And it would be difficult for me then to be with my daughter and have to be the mom and then also give a gallery session while I'm on a conference call with my boss. That would be difficult. I would want to do those things sequentially. I wouldn't want to have to wear 5 masks at one time. That would just be extremely difficult. And I don't know how to say it more directly to say, has that ever happened to you? Have you been caught between two masks where both roles require something different from you? And while you're strictly in that one role, you're very effective. But if you have to mix a role in there, maybe that would be a little bit more difficult. And have you ever come up upon that, being stuck in between those two roles? I was missing something in that whole scenario. And so when I tried to answer that question for myself, I thought, well, where else in my life do roles exist? I started looking at the people in my life, the role of mother, the role of father, the role of my father being a deacon, or my sister being a manager at a restaurant, or you get my point, right? I don't mean to ramble or to babble, but I did look around to see how do other people express the roles that they are supposed to, fulfill, and what mask do they use to fulfill that role? And does that mean they're like seven different people in seven different places? And so I prayed about it. I tend to pray about things when I don't know what the heck they mean, or or I can't find an answer to them, or my logic doesn't allow me to um, dive any deeper. And when I hit a wall, I tend to pray. So that's a good thing you can try to do if you guys hit a wall and you don't know what to think, you don't know what to do, or you don't know how to think about something. So I prayed, and I kept getting a vision of the Holy Trinity and a lot of visions that represented the three parts of God, or the three sides of God. And I started to look more at that connection of the Holy Trinity. God is made up of three parts, right? He is God the Father, Jesus Christ the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And each of these roles are different. God being the creator, the spirit, the unseen. Jesus Christ being the friend, the validator, the brother, um, the human, right? And then we have the Holy Spirit, who is spirit and a healer, and um, the balancer of body and soul. And so we can see super distinctly these three roles that God plays. And sometimes God uses the mask of creator, and sometimes God uses the mask of Jesus Christ, the human, and sometimes God uses the mask of Holy Spirit, the healer. But what I've come to realize, and what I came to realize during that prayer novena about these roles and masks and who I am, depending on where I go, I started to see something when I investigated the Holy Trinity more. And I looked at each personality of God in its own unique way. So the way that I started to think about this is, what why do I feel so comfortable that God the Father is there, Jesus Christ the Son is there, and that the Holy Spirit is there? And why do I feel equally balanced, equally loved by each part of God? If I go to the Creator, God, I feel love. If I go to Jesus Christ, the Son, I feel love. If I go to the Holy Spirit, I feel love. And I may go to them for different reasons. I may go to God, Creator, for one purpose, and Jesus, friend, for another purpose, and the Holy Spirit because I need healing. So I can go to all three roles with all three of those masks, and I can petition them for something unique, distinct, and individual to each aspect of God. But what I found is that when that is returned to me, when that communication begins, no matter what my petition is, and no matter to what role I approach, through what mask I approach it, what I feel is the same from every role of God. And I notice that there's this common denominator, or this core experience, that no matter what relationship I'm involved in with God, there's one thing I always feel in response, and that is love. And I realized, oh my God, what happened to me that day with that lady and Brittany was being stuck between two masks, and both roles requiring something so different than me turned me literally into a chameleon. I am who you need me to be at the moment you need me to be that. So if I have to be the disciplinarian and I have to yell at you, then I'm going to do that. But that's not going to look so good to the lady whose home I was in yesterday, speaking about love and spirit and talking to people in heaven and holding heart to heart, beautiful love connections. Well, that it doesn't match, it doesn't mix, it doesn't meld. I look like two different people. And so I started to think about what is it that I can make sure that no matter what role I'm fulfilling and no matter what mask I need to wear while I am fulfilling that role, who is the core self in each of those roles? What is my common denominator as a spiritualist, as a mother, as a wife, as a businesswoman, as a as a waitress or as a daughter or a sister? What is the core thing there? What is the thing that doesn't change between each one of those roles, between each one of those masks? What doesn't change? And if it's changing too much, which I think it was for me, when I was 24, 25, and 26, I think I was trying to figure all of these things out. And so this experience was like, oh my God, it's not the role you play, it's not the mask you wear, it's the person that you are. And if you are authentically connected to yourself, and if you are authentic in a friendship with your own body soul relationship, then it shouldn't matter what role you play or what mask you wear. Because if you ask my daughter, who am I? And you ask a lady who I've done a reading for, or you ask my boss, right, who I am, or you ask my old coworkers who I am, or my ex-boyfriends, or my friends, or my parents, or my siblings. If I am living an authentic life, then all of them will get the same thing from me in the role that I'm supposed to fulfill with the mask that I am wearing. But what my goal is that they say, like I say about God, it doesn't matter what part of God I go to, it doesn't matter what I require from God in either of those three personalities. There should be a consistency between each one, and his consistency is love. Between each one of those roles and masks, the core experience is love. And my core self is like, I'm not going to abandon you, I'm not going to leave you. And we have a core self, we have conditionings that make us who we are in the world. But this is something you get to pick. This is an effort that you get to decide. And so I decided that day that I wanted my like my core self in all of those roles. I wanted it to be welcoming. If you come to me, I'll help you. If I'm a businesswoman, if I'm a spiritualist, if I'm a parent, I want you to know that you can come, that you can reach out, that I'll show up for you in whatever capacity. So if I need to show up for you as a friend, I will. You'll know that. And so if you ask the people in my life, I have been trying to do that all these years. So I hope that all of you that know me, that you have that similar perspective, that my core self shines through the mask, that I'll show up for you, that I'll be there for you. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. And so I wanted to ask you guys, what roles do you play? What masks do you wear when you use those, when you're involved in those roles? Do you ever get cross communication where you get shifted out, or two masks, two roles conflict with each other like they did with me that day? And if you've discovered that and you have fixed that, or you have focused on that, what is the core self that you would like to express in each of the roles behind each of the masks? Because that's going to be what, that's going to kind of be what your impact is here, you know? And I think it's important to think about, and I hope it makes sense to you guys. I know I rambled, and I'm really sorry about rambling, but I really want to talk about this too at our Zoom, because it's such an interesting concept. Because when we sit down to think about who are we in the world, what roles do we play, what masks do we wear, what's the common denominator, and do we put a focus on fulfilling not the role, not the mask, but the common denominator. That's the thing that we have to fulfill. And if we can fulfill that thing, then no matter what role, no matter what mask, we are the same person. So I can't wait to talk to you guys about this. I hope you think about this during the month, and I'll put a worksheet together later on so I can include it when I post this. I really hope to see you guys at the Zoom. And thanks again for spending time with me. I love you guys. And yeah, I'll see you at the Zoom. God bless.